Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ame Yoko. This is a place I like to come to for shopping. How you doing, everybody? And we are about 3 days away from making a trip to go back to the United States from Tokyo to JFK. And in this episode, I'm going to be explaining to you my planning for this trip, the nightmare that I've had to go through between now and the time that Omicron was first introduced to all of us around the end of November. It has really thrown a wrench into our travel plans and made it really difficult to understand what's going on. And I hope that this update helps a lot of people, especially those that are also in the same situation, and also serve as sort of a reference in time historically on what was going on as a train. I love watching the trains go by here. So once Omicron was introduced to all of us around November 28th, so much uncertainty and so much confusion and so much concern, I guess is the right word, and for some places panic hit. The markets went down, especially against the dollar and the Japanese yen. Now, traditionally when times are tough, or there's some sort of risk, or there's some sort of something that makes investors nervous, they stop investing in the US dollar and they put their money in the Japanese yen. And you see the yen just start to increase and the dollar decrease. And that's sort of what happened. The dollar got weaker and the yen got stronger, something like that. But the markets really collapsed, which shows you the worry that's going on here. Now, Japan's reaction to all of this was to shut down the borders completely for a solid month. Australia until December 15th. And I've noted this in a travel update. We have a trip on December 10th where we're trying to fly out of Japan into the United States. The United States is not too hard to get into. The only thing that we really had to change was making sure we got a test not 72 hours before departure, but 24 hours before departure. And as long as we get a PCR test 24 hours before, we're fine. That's the only real challenge. And then we can be picked up by our family and be taken home. And we don't have any plans to go out to New York or do any meetups or go to any events. Very small, family social situation where we've all been vaccinated twice. My family has been boosted already, so we're in a pretty safe situation. It's just getting to the United States. That seems to be okay. Leaving at the end of December is where the real problems start, because we don't know if I can first return to Japan at all. Now, right now, visitors, international travelers from the 8 African countries where Omicron was first recognized, first detected, Japanese citizens from these 8 countries in Africa can return to Japan. But Japanese residents that are not Japanese citizens cannot return to Japan. So there's a travel ban. Even if you have a visa and you're a returnee and you already have, let's say you have an apartment here, lots of stuff, you're paying rent, you have a job to return to, you can't right now. But Japanese citizens can. So that makes me really worry, thinking back of 2020, when all people that were outside of Japan were trapped outside of Japan for months. And I don't want that to happen, especially, since we have a child and my wife has to get back for work. I got to get back to work. It might be easier just to cancel because the risk is real. So we don't know what's happening with that. Right now, the situation is returnees can return to Japan, but new visa holders, if you are waiting to get in to Japan, you're a student or you're a relative of somebody living in Japan, or you're coming in for the first time, an initial entry, you cannot do that right now. Not until January 1st, I believe. It's a 1 month, completely everything is shut down. But apparently I can return right now. That's the thing. I just don't know. If we return, we have to spend 14 days of quarantine. Previously, on, I guess it was November 28th, people who returned had to do a 10-day quarantine from the United States, meaning they went straight home to home quarantining, And after the 10-day period, if they took a test and were negative, they were released. So 10 days, sometimes 11, because the test results took a little bit of time. All right, that's understandable. It's been extended now to 14 days, including a 3-day mandatory government hotel stay, which makes not a lot of sense to me. And it doesn't make a lot of sense to a lot of people too, and I'm gonna explain why. So recently I've been checking Twitter to see what is the current situation. I know Twitter is kind of a negative place, sometimes not the most trustworthy place to get information, but I don't think people are gonna lie about their situations, not as when they're attaching documents and all sorts of paperwork to prove what's going on here. Apparently somebody who just returned from San Francisco, who had to do a mandatory 3-day stay in a government hotel, was told that the hotels were all full. So the government said that you can just go home and do your self-quarantining at your house. You don't have to do the hotel stay like everybody else. And that made me think, like, what the heck? So if the government hotels are all full, you can just go home and self-quarantine. So if that's the policy right now in such an uncertain time, why can't we do that? Why can't everybody just do that? What is the purpose of the government hotels? Now that the government hotels are filled, I saw another post on Twitter saying that people who come to Tokyo and there's not enough space for them to quarantine will be sent on the government's dime, meaning the government will pay for you to travel to Chubu Airport, which is in Nagoya. And you will have to stay at a government hotel in Nagoya. You live in Tokyo. In Nagoya, do 3 days or 6 days, depending on your nationality and where you're coming from. And the government will fly you back from Nagoya, from that hotel, back to Tokyo, and then you can find your own accommodations. Does that make any sense at all? So you arrive from a 14-hour flight into Tokyo. Next, the government says, sorry, we don't have any government accommodations for our mandatory 3-day quarantining. All right? So we're flying you, because you've been chosen, to Nagoya on a free flight to stay in a government hotel where you're locked in there for 72 hours or 6 days. And we're going to fly you back where you can get a taxi to return to your home for the rest of your home quarantine. That makes me really worried. So now, on top of all this other uncertainty, there's the uncertainty of whether or not I'll be able to do this mandatory government quarantining near the airport. I might have to do another trip, which puts us at more risk again of getting what we're trying to avoid not getting at all. I don't know. So what do you think? I really want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts. You can leave a comment below. Now, of course, I'm going to make the final call. We still have Anna, which we say in Japanese. Anna has given us a free cancellation. So if this is too much for us, we can just cancel. They'll send us our money back. No problem whatsoever. And right now, I'm 50-50 right now. I don't know what to do. We're traveling. We're both fully vaccinated. Our son is not. He's 9 months old. 8 or 9 months old, almost 9 months. He hasn't been vaccinated, but the flight is not close to being full. I'm just worried about the airport at JFK, if we're going to be able to get out, and how careful we can be to distance. And I don't think internationally there's going to be a lot of people at the airport. I think it's pretty much get your bags and get out there and not say anything. That's my thinking anyways. I think it's going to be it's not going to be as bad as I think. But, we really do have to think about Leo. And I also have, look at these are on sale. I also have to think about when I can go back to see my family in the United States, because I'm going to be ramping up production of Only in Japan starting in January. This is like a done deal, and I'm hiring people. I got to be out. I don't know when there's another chance for me to go back home to the United States. This is pretty much it for a long time. So I'm not sure how this all works out. So there's a lot of things on my mind, a lot of things causing a great deal of stress. We booked this ticket months ago. So I hate to have to give this up, but again, we are thinking about our son. So that is a consideration why this is so stressful, because he is not vaccinated, but we are sitting in premium economy, which is separated from everybody else. There's not a lot of people in there, and even the economy flights, there's a lot of seats that are available, so it's like maybe 30% full, if that, and I'm sure that they're going to be getting some cancellations too. My family will understand, but they're also getting older, and gosh, if I give up a chance and something were to happen, that's also on my mind too. I don't mind doing the 14-day quarantining either. So that's also a conundrum. But just where will you do that? There's so much uncertainty right now. All right, to make matters worse and to exacerbate all of this, right, it seems like the double standard between Japanese citizens and internationals. I call internationals people who are living here in Japan that are expats or English teachers, and people from all over the world are here. Right now, the U.S. I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, the U.S. Tokyo Embassy put out a warning that Japanese police are randomly searching non-Japanese at a record level. So there's literally the U.S. Embassy put out a flash warning saying that people are being racially profiled in Tokyo. It's from the U.S. Embassy. So it's a pretty reputable source. It's the embassy. It's the government of the United States. Wrote this for people that are in Tokyo to be careful for the police. It's like, what? So I mean, if they stop me, I have all my documents. I could show that. I'm sure they're gonna let me go, but apparently it's more than that. So I don't know. It just makes me think that ever since Prime Minister Kishida got into power, things have been going a little bit not great. And for this travel ban, the vast majority of Japanese are behind him on this. And I can see why. Everybody's concerned with Omicron. It is really scary when there's something that you don't understand out there. We don't know. Japan's approach is to go to an extreme. They don't want any risk and they just completely will shut down. The Western countries are like, we'll shut down for a short time and then we'll wait and see and then make a decision based on that. Japan doesn't do that. They shut down and they don't take any risks. And it's just, that is predictable. But what's unpredictable is how it's changing because initially the Prime Minister, now let me take you over here. Initially the Prime Minister said that even Japanese nationals were not allowed to book flights. And I got a notification from ANA Airline telling me that no more, that first of all, that I could cancel without charge, which was pretty nice, but also that changes to the ticket, or you wouldn't be allowed to book any other flights. So if you haven't booked the flight yet, you won't be able to book a flight back to Japan. So whatever's booked is locked in there, and no more new bookings for Japanese citizens and for foreign residents, everybody. Just total travel ban. And then the Prime Minister walked that back a couple of days later and says, no, Japanese citizens should have the right to come back home, but only Japanese citizens. So it's like, it's just so confusing. So if he walks that back, what's going to happen? Is in 10 days, when we learn more about Omicron and we learn that it's not as serious, or maybe it's just like the cold, do they walk back that month and then the quarantine process is rolled back to 10 days, the original way that it was before? Or do they make it worse and they don't let anybody enter into the country? So there's just so much uncertainty, and that uncertainty leads me to believe that perhaps I should cancel. But then there's another part of me that says, maybe things will get worse, and maybe this is the best time to travel, because who knows what it's going to look like in January or February or March or next year. We just don't know. Right now I have a ticket. The flight's not even close to being full. Right? So that's the conundrum that I find myself in December 2020, in the age of Omicron. What do? A lot of question marks. Johnny writes in, there's a lot of question marks. Very little answers. Best be safe and stay. Please do let me know your opinions. I might not follow it, and I'm not gonna let all these opinions sway which direction I go with this. I'm gonna really deeply consider everything that people have to write, but it certainly helps to have 1,000 heads instead of one. But be considerate, because I really am struggling with this very, very hard, and I want to do what's best for my family on both sides of the Pacific, right? So there's that. Again, I don't know when I can travel back to the United States. 2022 is going to be extremely busy. Gosh, Just it's already booked up until like April. So I'm not even sure. If I'm in your situation, I might stay. Ryan, exactly. Asterisk might. Because who knows, in 48 hours, maybe we know some more information. Initial reports are, and I'm not saying don't go by this, but initial reports are that the severity of this is not that high, but we just don't have enough data points to know for sure. It's just starting now. So my gut says it's a scariant, and this is maybe a better time to go because less people will be traveling now as a result of it, and maybe even safer as a result. It's just being blocked from re-entering to Japan and the uncertainty of the immigration process coming back here from MOFA. This comes from MOFA, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Makes it very hard to gauge if I can even come back. Now, my son's healthy. He had a fever recently that broke. We're a little bit worried about him. So that might be the deciding factor right there. But we're going to see. I hate being held hostage. In those situations, I will fight my way out. Chan writes in here, I think the question you need to answer is, where would you like to be stuck, the US or Japan? That's actually a pretty good question. I'll have to ask myself that seriously over the next couple of hours. Michael Sassano, hey John, probably best to keep safe and not chance taking Leo out of Japan. I'm sure your parents will totally understand. I think they will, but they're not as young as they used to be. And I certainly think that, we've waited quite a long time. As a part of me says that maybe this is the best chance too, Michael. And this is the flight is not even close to being full. As somebody who studied economics in college, and economics is not just about money, it's also about time and opportunity, and there's weighing risks. It was one of the best things that I studied. The things that I remember the most were from my economics classes. Gosh, a lot of these things I'm putting right now into practice. And what is the economics of time, economics not just of the money, but of the time. And that's what I'm struggling with right now. Stay home, your son is more important. Thanks for I really do appreciate the feedback. I personally wish I was stuck in Japan, not in a trunk. For a lot of you, it seems like a pretty easy decision. It's not as easy for somebody who's in the middle of it. But I just want to say, whatever I decide to do, whatever we decide to do, it'll be a decision that we make as a family. And the feedback here really does help put things in perspective, because when you are put up against the fire and your back is up against the wall and you're running out of time to make a decision, sometimes you need to go to YouTube and ask 1,000 people to figure it out. I don't know. But this is all the reality that travelers have to make this decision right now. The flight is on December 10th. And everything is set, So even if I got stuck and I couldn't make it home, I think that, Kanai and Leo as Japanese citizens will be just fine. And I would be the one that's stuck. And, I don't mind too much about me, but I really do need to get back to making content and getting out back onto the road and all that. So, gosh, there's so many pressure points right now. Consulting a bunch of strangers. Mind you, I know a lot of you. A great deal of you are not strangers to me. So it's not like I'm asking a bunch of strangers. But yeah, I think you should ask Look, marriage. When you have trouble with your marriage, you go to a stranger to figure out what you should do with that. When you have trouble with any kind of a mediation, you go to a stranger. So yeah, it sort of does make sense to get people's opinions, I think. I'm breathing. Can you find a sitter for a long period? You don't want your son to go with. We would want our son to go with us. That's part of the magic, and also it's Christmas time, and I think it would be just a lot of fun. Personally, we all would like to get out, but I'm sure all of you would like to get out too and travel. It's not as easy, is it? Yeah. Kanai's opinion, she's not sure either. We're all kind of just weighing the data and waiting as long as we possibly can to try to get as much information as we possibly can. Because this is so fluid. Again, I could turn in any direction right now. But we seem to be running out of time. EJ writes in, go visit your family. Again, like I very much 50-50 on this right now. I'm 50-50. Half of me is 1 foot in and 1 foot out, and I just cannot understand. And the situation here in Japan, people might be locked down too. I'm not sure. We don't have that anymore. In fact, Tokyo is in a great situation right now. We have daily about 20 people who are getting sick from Delta. Omicron it just came in with a third person. A child got it. If only children could have been vaccinated, right? Like toddlers could have been vaccinated. This is hard. It's much easier for us to go the other way than for having the family come towards us. And anyways, they can't. It's much easier for Japanese to travel to the United States than it is for anybody else to travel into the United States. Right now, into Japan. Right now, my family could not come to visit us in Japan. It's not prohibited. They are not foreign residents. They're not re-entering Japan. And right now, there's tens of thousands, if not 100,000 students and people with visas that are hoping to work in Japan, waiting for months and months and years to get in. I don't think my family is even close to a priority as to those people that have been waiting for such a long amount of time. And just makes it really, really hard. Aaron Chong, thank you. Get a drink and think it over. Adney, I think that's probably a good idea. But I'm going to give it 24 hours, and then Wednesday morning we're going to make a decision and to either cancel or just go full on. We do have to get a PCR test 24 hours before departure, so we probably have to take a taxi to the airport and do it there, so we get the proper documentation. If you get at the airport, you're assured to have the right documentation because at the airport they know exactly what you need. Go full on. Difficult to get a proper PCR test in the USA that is acceptable to Japan. That's another problem, but I just read on Twitter somebody had gotten a PCR test and JAL wouldn't accept it too. So that created a lot of headaches for this person was able to get the right test because it didn't. Well, we've got all the proper. I've already printed out all the proper paperwork, so I have that with me, copies of that, so we know exactly what we need to do. It's just about keeping up to date with the MOFA website to make sure that if those forms do change on the stop of a dime, you can make that pivot and get the right forms so there's no issue at the airport. Because we all want smooth sailing through the procedures, right? I'm thinking meet your parents, don't want to keep putting that off. We've been putting this off, gosh, for 2 years. And now that our son was born, we couldn't go when he was young. He was just too young, but now he's old enough where has a tolerance to things. But this is something that's, wow. You know, I would not be able to live with myself if he got sick. But at the same time, you know, I think that the risk is not as great as we all perceive it to be. Traveling on an airplane is actually quite safe. Only if you're in a close proximity to people, but there's nobody sitting around us on the plane. The plane is virtually empty. I think it's 30% full, mostly in economy, and we've upgraded to premium economy, which is sort of locked away by a curtain. I don't know, that's really, really a big deal, but yeah. Samuel writes in here, we've been waiting for my 8-month daughter to meet her grandparents since she was born, and we've been trapped in Japan for 2 years. Go if you can, writes in Samuel. I do understand not wanting to go, but if you think that this may be the last time you'll be able to see certain family members, in my opinion, I would go see the members just in case, writes in Dark Lord Yeet. There's no documented case of being on an airplane, JKO Adventures. Exactly. Ming, sounds like your mind is set. Just get on the flight and go. Have a virtual family, writes in Monica. That's what you guys are for. I guess it's good. Only third Omicron case in Japan. I think they upgraded the air filter on airplanes too. They did, Fu-chan. I checked up on this. Yep, our parents are not getting younger, so that's an important factor to take in, writes in Jean J. 6 feet doesn't cut it. No, I'm gonna go like with 10 feet then. Cattle class travel, I wish. Cattle in Japan do live pretty well. Go see your aging parents. God, don't say that I said they were aging. Don't use that word. I got in trouble. I believe you will be safe since you are not getting into large crowds. I'll be avoiding it and just staying with family the whole time. Japan will be one of the last countries to fully reopen. I'm sure of that. Kids are not in danger with the virus, Richard Henry the horse. Not in danger, but you just never know, and that uncertainty makes it really hard, doesn't it? Please come to the U.S. Japan, U.S. John. It's really not bad here in Chicago. O'Hare millions fit per day. Tig Rahoff has it right. We're all aging. That's true. Stephen writes in here, my wife is in a wheelchair. We take every opportunity to travel and see friends and family. We just don't know when you will be able to do this again, or if something happens and we miss seeing somebody. That's the thing. It's not about, it's an economics decision. It's not about being scared. It's not an emotional thing. Well, it is an emotional. Gosh, the opportunity is right now, right? Life is short, family's precious. You should go see your family so you have a peace of mind with your family because you might not see them again for a while. That's another thing. Right. Japan is in a pretty good situation, as I said. We have about 20 or less COVID infections per day right now, which is really good compared to the rest of the world, right? But with this new variant and the uncertainty, you know, if this trip was in January or if this variant had come a month earlier, it'd be a lot easier, right? We'd have a lot more information. But because there's just not a lot of information, and it doesn't look like we're going to have that information by the 10th, it's almost like gambling. It's almost like rolling the dice and saying, oh, it's not that bad. Japan's going to change the rules, or it is worse than we thought right now. My feeling is that we always assume the worst, and it can't be as bad as what it is, but I can't go on a feeling. I want hard facts because it's more than me that's involved. I'm pretty sure by next week, most of the states of the U.S. will have it, yeah. Which state are you going to? I'm flying in the JFK. Foog's life has it a little bit too brutal. We're all gonna go anyways. Yeah. All right, folks. That's the situation that we're in. It is concerning, but I think I explained in a travel update just a week ago that Japan has the oldest population in the world, and it's a country that doesn't like to take any risks at all. In fact, this is both a pro of Japan economically and a big con economically, because as you see, manufacturers that don't take risks, companies that don't take any risks, don't reap the rewards. In a world that changes so fast, Japan is often right now behind the curve. It's the Reiwa period. The fourth year of the Reiwa is going to be starting, and we have to move on from the Showa era, which was the old way of doing things. But because Japan's population is so top heavy, meaning the older population is the majority compared to the lower one, younger people, which in Indonesia and India is the opposite. The decisions are still, mindset is set back in the Showa era, which was 40 years ago, not right now the era that we're in, which is 2020. So this is also a big problem, but it also can be an asset too. Look at Japan. We're pretty relatively safe here. Everybody's wearing a mask, and despite the fact that we only have everybody's fully vaccinated, 80% of the country is fully vaccinated. So we're in a pretty good situation here in Tokyo, but we're still all wearing masks. So, yeah, just different. Just different. All right, everybody, leave me your comments below. I know that this is sort of a weird live stream, but there's a lot of stuff going in my mind, and I'm not sure when. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do a live stream for the next couple of days, as I just put all my time into coming up with an answer and preparing for a trip that I might not take, going and getting vaccine certification and getting everything, making reservations for the shot, canceling them, making them again. There's just a lot of stuff going on. This is Okachimachi near Ueno. I just came from Ameyoko Market and was walking around to show you a little bit more. Yeah, I'm sure I'll be fine. In the end, whatever decision we make is not a wrong decision. It's just a tough decision because there's no winners or losers. We all kind of get screwed by this. Just in an uncertain time, you make the best decisions you can with the information that you have. And there are some things that I miss or I don't catch. And it's good to talk with all of you. And again, once again, these episodes are a marker in time on how we were feeling and what was going through our minds in the age of Omnicron, which sounds like a Decepticon from Transformers. So one of Megatron's posse. Can't get the booster till 6 months in, and Japan just started. They moved it from 8 months to 6 months, so the earliest I can get the booster is probably February. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening and hearing the real concerns that we have. I'm going to be staying up to date on Twitter because right now, at this very moment, there are about 4 or 5 people that I'm following on Twitter that are coming back to Japan right now and seeing their experience, hearing about it, sharing the photos. This kind of interaction that we have is the best way for us to have up-to-date information. And I'll be sharing once again on Twitter, if you follow me there, retweeting and forwarding some of the information I'm getting live from people that are coming into Japan as it happens. And that's really cool about this age that we live in. We can share information freely and quickly so that we can make informed decisions because I'm running out of time. Right? I'm running out of time. Take care, everybody.